He was a big freak.
Music me.
I have like a lot of cultures really in my music, really, but the blues is one of them. I just say it was raw. R-A-W. People, they only see the surface part of the music business, you see. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And it's not all glamour. And it's not all starlights. If I'm going to do it, I really want to do it the right way. This is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it.
The world was intimidated and put off by Betty Davis, essentially because she documented unapologetic pleasure in an era where that was not the norm. She disregarded traditional gender norms, traditional power dynamics, both in the music industry and in society at large. She really kind of turned the gaze the other way on the music industry and flipped the kind of fetish, erotic rock and roll gaze that was happening in the 70s in a way that was just truly avant-garde, in the sense that it was a fusion of sound and message and aesthetic, but also it predated the artists that would come to do that in the 80s by a decade. This is before Madonna, Rick James, Prince, Grace Jones, Nona Hendrix, and there really were no contemporaries to compare Betty to. And Betty, she disregarded everything. She disregarded gender, race, sexuality, and genre boundaries. And the music industry is completely formulated around those very clear, distinct boundaries of genre based off of race and gender. And Betty just knocked that down at every corner. And that's scary, especially when a fabulous, gorgeous, sexy, unapologetic woman is doing that. People are not having it.
Crashin' from passion. I went speeding outside the street. Should've stayed on the highway, but this ride still came over me. Going 90 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone. Crashin' from passion. Dropped the red, white, and green, I'm best down. That life. Slipping and tripping and falling out sideways. Crashin' from passion. The wrong turn. That's life. Oh, didn't just reject you. Put down the leg. Crashing passion. You live me, love me, love.
My name is Danielle Maggio. I am an ethnomusicologist, writer, educator, vocalist, and DJ based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I had the absolute pleasure of knowing Betty Davis the last 6 years of her life. During that time, we engaged in interviews, we did collective listening together, talked about her music, and I wrote the first full-length scholarly study of her life and career for my PhD dissertation. I'm currently working on a book about her life that me and Betty worked on together before she passed away. And I'm an all-around Betty Davis superfan. When Betty Davis stepped into an LA studio to record Crashin' From Passion, she was both a 34-year-old unsigned artist and an experienced performer who had built a notable career as a professional model, songwriter, and musician. Unlike most starry-eyed creatives who go on a pilgrimage to Tinseltown in order to make it, Betty was already a well-known bi-coastal socialite who was hopping back and forth between major cities while writing, gigging, and living her truth boldly and unapologetically. Los Angeles was familiar territory and, in fact, one of the formative sites in her career. In addition to recording 2 of her first original songs at Columbia's Hollywood Studios in 1968, she delivered memorable performances there in subsequent years while touring in support of her albums, turning heads along the way. Betty would later put down roots in a West Hollywood apartment off of Santa Monica Boulevard and immerse herself in a world filled with iconic house parties on Sunset Boulevard and Mulholland Drive, and renowned dance parties hosted at Moody's by the Black femme DJ duo Elena and Company. Her friend Gary Allen recently described it to me as gay, cool, fluid. And Rudy Calvo fondly remembers that all the legendary children were there. Simply put, it was very LA and very late 70s. And for better or worse, the city's glitz and glamour provided both the backdrop and fodder for what would become Betty Davis's final studio album. Crashin From Passion is an experimental and performative portrait of Hollywood's opulent facade that sees Betty expanding her formats as a songwriter, incorporating new instruments and motifs into her work, and shifting gears in her vocality in ways that are unexpected and perhaps a little unnerving to fans hoping for a full slate of tunes delivered with her signature guttural sound. For an eclectic record that so obviously reflects the period in which it was written, it is simultaneously a deeply personal album that exposes the insecurities of a visionary Black woman who had suffered the indignities of a white, male-controlled music industry throughout the bulk of her career. It is a musical snapshot of both vulnerability and control from the cultural icon who is now rightly recognized as the Queen of Funk. I'm sitting across from Betty Davis at her kitchen table, where we patiently wait to drink the fresh pot of green tea that she just brewed. I have my laptop in tote so we can access YouTube and listen to music in the admittedly inelegant format that is still somewhat foreign to her. It was about 5 years ago when I introduced her to the website for the first time and asked her to pick a video from any musician she wanted to see. Without hesitation, she responded, "Muddy Waters," and we dove right in. Listening to music together in Betty's apartment and in the car, where she prefers it loud, has been a mainstay of our relationship that has its own eclectic soundtrack comprised of Delta blues, Ethio jazz, 60s rock, and some of Betty's recent K-pop favorites. Yes, K-pop. Today's playlist is special, though, because we are listening to her fifth and final album, Crashin From Passion, which she has not heard since 1979. I don't remember anything about that album, Betty told me a few months back when we learned that it would have its first proper release in 41 years. "Are you ready?" I ask her. She bows her beautiful face in silence and grasps a ceramic teacup between aged hands adorned with vintage turquoise rings. I press play, and the memories begin to reveal themselves. Though the album is a departure from Betty's catalog, it kicks off in familiar territory with Quintessence of Hip.
What is the quintessence of hip? The quintessence of hip is for you not to slip and trip on your dreams like a rolling stone. Bob Dylan said it. The quintessence of hip. I can stand, but I don't do that. The quintessence of hip. I can be cooler than cool. The quintessence of hip. John Coltrane played it. Billie Holiday phrased it.
It is a tribute to the musicians who paved her way, which has been a thematic staple throughout her discography, most notably in They Say I'm Different and Funk. Here, Betty not only references musicians by name, she also weaves lyrics and melodies from their songs into her fast-paced declaration of hipness, from Billie Holiday's God Bless the Child all the way up to Stevie Wonder's Superstitious. Beyond being a mere celebration of her musical lineage, some of the lyrics also reveal Betty's vulnerability and forecast her sense of frustration that is evident throughout the album. Isn't it rich? Isn't it queer? Losing my timing so late in my career?
Isn't it rich? Isn't it queer? Losing my timing so late in my career.
On Crashin, the dominant, self-validating lyrics Betty delivered on her previous albums are replaced by a kind of submissive self-scrutiny that seems attributable to her 15-year relationship with an abusive music industry. We can also hear the vulnerability and feel her sense of disillusionment in songs like I Need a Whole Lot of Love, when she sings, tried my best, but I failed the test, made mistakes, stirred up a little, now you hate me.
I need a whole lot of nothing in the morning just to get out on my bed. I got a houseboy serving my croissant and Picassos. I have it in my head. No, I really don't like living, but I do like living well. And I pretend all my elegant friends would help me up, help me rise. Shouldn't need a vibe, well, I need a whole lot of nothing to entertain me, so I can sleep at night. A hot jacuzzi, a burn, my movie, I real New Yorker.
While songs like Quintessence of Hip and No Good at Falling in Love showcase the up-tempo, hard-driving funk rock that one comes to expect from a Betty Davis record, songs like She's a Woman invite the listener into a new realm, where dramatic polyphonic synths accompany her exaggerated performance of femininity.
I'm an old-fashioned girl with a lot of romantic notions. Perfume, silk knickers, soft music, chamois lotion. Send me a dozen low-stem red roses. Shower me with orchids if you're gonna judge my emotion. She's a woman. I'm such a lovely flower. She's a woman. W needs a man. She's a woman.
Betty is unquestionably in full bloom on tracks like You Make Me Feel So Good and You Take Me for Granted, where she sets aside her coarse growls and snarling hisses and inflects her voice with softer dynamics and delicate timbres.
Don't stop doing what you're doing. You make it feel so good. You make it feel so good. You make it feel so good whenever you touch me. You take me, you hurt me. You take me, you hurt me. You take me for granted. You really don't know what kind of woman you want. You take me for granted. Too busy playing around to get into what you got. You never ever know the changes that you put my heart through. You take me for granted, lying, denying that I'm being used. First class food. I'm traveling on the road again, treated like a third-rate romantic by my part-time boyfriend. You take me for granted, coming and going, knocking at my door when you play. You take me for granted. You're late, I wait whenever you need to see me.
While her previous records utilized such vocalizations more as accents and contrasts, her full range as a singer is showcased in this final album, though Betty sees it more as a matter of function than finesse. "I'm more of a projector," she told me once when we were discussing her music. "I don't consider myself to be a great singer, but I know how to make a song work." One can hear this compositional approach to vocals in a track like Tell Me a Few Things, where Betty's vocals facilitate the song's jazzy mood through her wispy delivery, rounded pronunciation, and bending of notes that sound as subdued and melodic as an accompanying xylophone.
Words don't come too easily for some, but they flow like prose from your lips. Shelley or Keats, I don't dare speak. How have you been? Haven't seen you for weeks. If they see your eyes, the truth is a lie. Tell me things. Take me to dinner, hold my hand, tell me a few things. Pour some wine, light your cigarette, tell me a few things. You can be so charming when you want something from me, and you always tell me a few things. You always tell me everything.
Similarly, instrumental uses of Betty's voice on the album can be heard in Hanging Out in Hollywood, where she experiments with vocal scatting, a technique that made her giggle each time she heard it while listening at her kitchen table. "I don't know where that came from," she proclaims. While vocal scatting obviously seems like an atypical choice for someone who once opened a track by screaming, "He was a big freak," it makes a certain degree of sense in a song about Hollywood opulence that is delivered from the perspective of an alter ego, a high society glamazon eating caviar, drinking champagne, and driving around in luxury cars. As an avid vegetarian and non-drinker, Betty paints a picture in Hanging Out in Hollywood that is largely one of fantasy.
Things are looking good. Hanging out in Hollywood. I just met me a movie star. Riding around in a Rolls Royce car. Drinking Dom Perignon all day. Please pass the beluga tray. I tain't nothing but a movie scene. Sunning and funny like Cleo the Queen. I am swinging so good. Hanging out in Hollywood. I just met me a movie star. Flying high in a Ferrari car. Swinging. I'm hanging out in Hollywood. Swinging, I am swinging. I'm hanging out in Hollywood. Skin out and finger pop it on the rocks. I just met me a movie star. Sneaking around in a red car. Hanging out in Hollywood. Hanging out in Hollywood. Hanging out in Hollywood. Swinging, swinging, swinging.
Betty once described herself to me as an amoeba, and perhaps no other album reflects this amorphous quality better than Crashin From Passion. It has a markedly different feel than Betty's previous albums that were all driven by the sound of a tight live band using rock instrumentation and minimal overdubs. There's also a degree of experimentation with musical genres that both complements and clashes with Betty's typical alchemy of blues, funk, rock, and R&B. One gets a strong sense that Betty is taking a stab at then current trends in popular music, as evident with the calypso reggae vibe she brings to I've Danced Before, or the jazzy theatrical quality she imparts to Tell Me a Few Things. And of course, one cannot ignore the four-to-the-floor disco stylings of All I Do Is Think of You, given that it was Betty herself who wrote and sang the line, "Take off that disco and put on some good music," in her 1976 song, Bottom of the Barrel. When we listened back to All I Do Is Think About You, she snickered and said, "I don't like that song very much." When I asked her why she wrote it, she responded, "Well, I just said, I'm going to write a commercial song." In contrast to Hanging Out in Hollywood, perhaps the most grounded and distinctively Betty-sounding cut on the album is the title track, Crashin From Passion. Bass jumpstarts the tune as the backing vocalists collectively ooh up and down the scale, making way for Betty's signature gravelly voice, which shapes a hard luck story about getting tested, rejected, and put out. The song's lyrics allude to the passion of a former lover, but they also plead for help and double as a testimony to Betty's string of bad experiences in the music industry over the years. The chorus conveys this through a clever play on one of Betty's oldest song titles, Live, Love, Learn, where she sings, "Crashin' from passion, you live, you love, you learn." However, as if to remind us that life's hard lessons can't be easily taught or neatly framed in a catchy hook, Betty responds to the final chorus with a line befitting of a blueswoman. "I'm going through changes, I took the wrong turn. You live, but you never learn."
Passion, I went speeding outside the street. Should have stayed on the highway, but this reckless feeling came over me. Going 90 miles an hour in a 30-mile zone. Crashing from passion, dropped a red, white, and blue number sound. That life, slipping and tripping and falling out sideways. Crashing from passion, I took the wrong turn. That's life, getting tested, rejected, quit down daily. Crashing from passion, you live, you love, and you learn. Slash my wrist, took the wrong turn. Should've never let you kiss me when the red light changes. Somebody, anybody, help me! Help me! Oh, help me! Crashing passion, I got ticket on a Concord plane. Should've stayed on the Greyhound. I can't trust a bus.
If there is one thing Crashin teaches us about Betty Davis, it is her uncanny ability to shift and shape her sound as a songwriter. Because, after all, Betty is first and foremost a songwriter. This final batch of studio recordings are evidence that while she previously pioneered fusion music and is best known for her raw delivery, she could also tap into the formats of her time and deliver unexpectedly solid pop tunes. Those contradictions on Crashin will undoubtedly be interpreted by some as an artist bending her original vision toward mainstream trends. However, it is unclear whether, at the time, Betty felt pressure to write more commercial-sounding music in order to sustain her career, or if she was just genuinely interested in trying new things after being pigeonholed by the music press and repeatedly misunderstood within the industry. Even with direct access to her, it's hard for me to say, as there is no single answer. What seems clear to me, though, is that context is crucial for understanding Crashin. It is the only album that Betty ever recorded in Hollywood and reflects a different set of experiences during a very different and transitional time in her life. After listening through the songs and finishing our pot of tea, Betty leans back from the kitchen table, takes a deep breath, and folds her hands on her lap. "What do you think?" I ask. "It really does sound good," she tells me. In the midst of chatting about Crashin and poking around at its details, I ask her if she considers it a funk album or whether it should be interpreted as a pop album. Without hesitation, she simply replies, "It's just a good album." For far too long, Betty's music and career has been characterized by the false binary of her being a nasty gal on stage and a sensitive introvert off stage. Betty is, of course, both of these women and so much more. Crashin From Passion forces us to reconcile the nuanced nature of her genius. Whether mimicking the carefree lifestyle of the Hollywood elite or addressing the sense of disillusionment she felt in her personal life and career, this final album reveals yet another facet of the Black Diamond Queen known as Betty Davis.
Baby, let's take a seat. My heart beats, need a retreat. Come on over here, I've got something to tell you.
I've danced that dance before. You might as well turn the music down, 'cause I've danced that dance before. Just in my mind around.
Hello, this is Matt from Light in the Attic. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Liner Notes. The Betty Davis catalog is available on vinyl, CD, and digital at lightintheattic.net and at all fine record stores around the globe. A big thank you to Danielle Maggio, and thank you for listening. Liner Notes is a co-production of Light in the Attic and Ruinous Media. This and all episodes of Light in the Attic's Liner Notes are available wherever you listen to podcasts. For more info, visit lightintheattic.net.